When you open up Visual Studio Code for FRC programming, you'll be greeted by this page right here, the Welcome page. This page contains many different tips, tricks, and shortcuts for helping you out in your experience of using the IDE itself. These include opening new folders, adding more workspaces, and even changing the theme of the editor itself. I'd suggest dark mode. Now, on the left side of this page, you'll see a sidebar that contains 5 different tabs by default. Each of these tabs will streamline your experience of using Visual Studio Code in a different way. To start, the top left tab of these 5 tabs is the Explorer tab. This is the tab you'll most commonly have opened, as it basically shows you all the files and folders present within the project you're currently working on. To open folders in the Explorer page, simply left-click on them once, and they'll show you their contents. If you'd like to open a file on the Explorer page, either single-click it to open it temporarily and scroll through it, at which point, if you click another file, it will replace the file you currently have open, or either A, double-click the file to save it to the IDE, or B, click the file once and then click Ctrl S to save it to the IDE. If you'd like to have multiple files open at the same time, open and save 2 files at once and drag the file from the top over to the right side of the IDE. This will allow you to have both of them open at once, and you can even drag several files between both sides of the IDE. The tab below that is the search function. This will allow you to search for whatever keyword you want, and will show you all of the instances where it's present within your current project. Think of it like a beefed up version of Ctrl F. Additionally, the replace box, which can be found below it, allows you to replace all the findings of said specific keyword with whatever you want, which can be useful, for example, if, say, you want to replace a variable name. Below the search tab is the tab for source control. This tab allows you to directly link your code to a repository where it's externally located, such as on GitHub or GitLab. More on this will be explained in a later, more detailed video on version control. Below that is the Debug tab, which contains multiple tools for checking errors in your code and running it in the first place. Luckily, we won't actually have to use the Debug tab due to the fact that we have a compiler that's provided for us by the WPI-lib. We'll show you how to use it in a moment. Finally, the last tab on the list is the Extensions tab. This tab is provided to you by VSCode itself, and contains all of the extensions that you need for writing code in various languages, and being able to see code in various languages. Additionally, because we installed VSCode the way that we did, we already have the WPI-lib extension ready for our general usage in the Extensions tab. Now that we've gone over the basic functionality of Visual Studio Code and how to use the various tools that it provides for you, let's go over how to actually use the WPI-lib extension for it. On the top right of your IDE, you'll see a little white W inside of a red hexagon, the icon of WPI-lib itself. Clicking on this button in the top right will open the WPI-lib command palette and provide you access to all of the tools that the WPI-lib extension gives you. Alternatively, if you're one of those people that prefers to use keyboard shortcuts for everything, on Windows you can use Control-Shift-P, or on Mac, Command-Shift-P to open up the general Visual Studio Code command palette, and to get directly to the WPI-lib command palette, simply type in WPI-lib, as this is the prefix for all of the functions that it provides you. In this list, you'll see a large collection of commands that the WPI-lib extension offers to you. The full explanation of all of these can be found on the WPI-lib documentation that we've linked to you in the description. But in this episode, we'll only be focusing on a select few, as you don't need much to get started with robot programming. Using whatever means you'd prefer, open up the WPI-lib command palette and type in the keyword new. This should result in one command, WPI-lib create a new project. Clicking this once will bring you to the WPI-lib project creator, one of the many tools that's been given to us by WPI-lib. Here, you'll be given a plethora of options to select from for what you want your robot code to be based off of. For this video, we're going to select template, C++, and timed robot. Next, select a folder to put your project into. For my purposes here, I'll put it on my desktop, because that's the easiest place that I'll be able to find it. Keep this box right here checked, as it'll keep all of the files for your project within one new folder. Otherwise, you'd have the Explorer tab be showing everything wherever all of your files are contained. Now, enter a name for your project, which in my case will be Timed Robot Example, because that's what it is. And then type in a team number. For my purposes here, because it's my team, I'll type in 1410. But for your purposes, you'll type in whatever team number you're currently on. It's actually very important that you type in the team number right here, because the compiler actually relies on communicating your team number to the RoboRio, which was pre-configured with it previously. If the team numbers don't match, the compiler will have a hard time trying to find the RoboRio and will likely fail on attempted deployment. Finally, click Generate Project, and this will give you all of the files that you'll need as a skeleton for writing FRC robot code. Click Yes to open the project in a current window. You'll see that the left side of your screen in the Explorer tab has been populated by a brand new timed robot example skeleton. It has all of the folders that you'll need to put your code into for FRC programming. The only thing that it's missing is some vendor libraries, which will show you how to install into this folder right here, the vendor deps folder, in a future video. For all of your purposes of programming, you'll be putting your code into the SRC or source folder. Don't mess with any of the other folders or files. They're all used for compiling your code, and as a general rule of thumb, should probably not be messed with. Now, if you click on the SRC or source folder, you'll see two folders within it, the main folder and the test folder. All of your code will be going in main. You don't have to worry about test right now. Inside main, there are three folders: CPP, deploy, and include. You need to be concerned about CPP, as that's where you'll put your .cpp files, and include, as that's where you'll put your .h files. You don't have to worry about the deploy folder either. Finally, onto the actual compiler of Finally, let's talk about the actual compiler that you'll need to use. No, that was a voice crack. Finally, let's talk about the compiler that you'll use for actually building and deploying your robot code. It's right here in this file list. It's this file right here, build.gradle. To access its functionality, simply right-click on it, and you'll see that there are a few more options at the bottom than the normal amount of options for right-clicking on a file in VS Code. The two at the bottom you'll actually need to be concerned with are build robot code, as this will actually compile your robot code and tell you if there's any errors with the WPI-lib framework or not, and deploy robot code, which you'll use for actually, well, deploying your robot code. This option right here is what tells the robot, hey, this is some new code that's incoming that I've just written, it is successfully built, and here it comes. It is important to note that you do not have to build your robot code manually every time you want to deploy it. Deploying robot code will automatically build it for you beforehand, and it will stop the deployment if it detects any errors before it can screw up your RoboRio.